Azam Pot 69. Jinnah tried his hand in theatre and may have thought of an acting career. Sarojini and he shared an interest in the arts. She as a poet and writer, he in the theatre. Green, as I recall, pictures something like a rivalry for the good graces of his talented lady. In an Indian context, she seems to have gravitated to Gandhi. It was on two issues, both related to Muslims, that Jinnah had intervened at Calcutta Congress. After all, he was a Muslim delegate to the Congress, and how could he ignore Muslim concerns? His first intervention was on the validity of Waqf-e-Aulad, and the second on the issue of reservation. He undoubtedly argued for the Muslim cause, but simultaneously stressed the possibility of using Congress platform, and that too on an equal footing alongside the Hindus. His amendments were accepted in that Congress meet. In October of that year, 1906, he took a more serious and assertive political step. He went on to question the very representative status of the delegation led by Aga Khan to the Viceroy. He was of the view that Congress represented the Muslims no less, in fact was the only true political voice in the country. He also opposed this whole pursuit of separate electorates through a memorandum forwarded to Lord Minto by the Bombay Presidency Association. Jinnah's letter in Gujarati, 7 October 1906. The Aga Khan, whom Jinnah was opposed to all his life, writing in his memoirs on the question of separate electorates, had said, "Who then was our doughtiest opponent in 1906, a distinguished Muslim barrister in Bombay. Jinnah had always been on friendly terms, but at this juncture he came out in a bitter hostility towards all that I and my friends had done and were trying to do. He was the only well-known Muslim to take up his attitude, but his opposition had nothing mealy-mouthed about it. He said that our principle of separate electorates was dividing the nation against itself, and for nearly a quarter of a century he remained our most inflexible critic and opponent." Then came the change in a letter to editor, The Times of India, dated 20 February 1909. Jinnah took a markedly different stand. He, for the first time, accepted that Muslims were entitled to a real and substantial representation in new reforms. But the real question was how this ought to be done, whether to have separate electorates at all stages, from rural boards to the viceregal council, or something less, and if so, then what level. On the basis of populations, Muslim would become entitled to representation of up 25%, but if this share could be enhanced to a weightage equivalent to that of the third, then this whole business of communal representation could be dispensed with, Jinnah reasoned. Otherwise, there was no alternative but to retaining the reservation system. In addition, at a meeting of the Muslims of Bombay held on 13 August 1909, Jinnah successfully proposed that if the alternatives available for Muslim representation in Bombay Legislative Council were election by the separate electorates or selection by nomination, preferences should be given to the former election. With time, his views on the sensitive matter changed further, though gradually. Jinnah's demeanor during the 25th session of the Congress at Allahabad during 26-29 December 1910 plainly demonstrated this change and his mounting uneasiness. His personal views on the issues of separate electorate had become by then not so totally variant with those of the majority of his co-religionists, Under pressure, however, from several Congress leaders, he moved